Peace, y'all. What up? Peace, y'all. Keep tapping like. We get to 2K likes. I'm gonna let people up here. Answer the questions below. Let us know what you think. Can the cultures peacefully coexist? Can we all just get along? Is allyship possible? Let me know in the comments below. If you want to come up, you can. Thank y'all for getting us the 2K likes so quickly. Peace, Kron. Appreciate you. We're getting a lot of no's. Are y'all just saying that because y'all on TikTok or what?
Yo, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
Peace, Big Mac. I just seen you in another live. You don't gotta introduce yourself. Go ahead and
Okay.
talk to us.
Can we all just get along? Can black and white tea culture peacefully coexist? That would never happen. For what for what our people been going through for over 400 years, we've been attacked still to this day. We still getting killed by the police. We still getting killed by racist men, by just as a black man going in the woods, trusting your coworkers, and that's men and women. Black girl went on a trip with a bunch of white women. She didn't end up drowning out of the boat, dying. Multiples and multiple stories, especially throughout these last 5 years, since 2019, 2018. There's no way we need to coexist. We need to do our own thing. We built everything in the country. We the smartest people on the earth. We the aboriginals of the earth. We don't need to coexist with them at all. We got different molecular structures, built different. White people love cold. We come from a hot nature. Two different people, two different ways of thinking. And I don't have nothing to say about coexisting with them. I don't want to coexist with a white man, white woman, period. And that's my opinion on it.
All right. Starting us off with the temperature up, brother cooking with hot grease. So is allyship possible though? Is it possible, like, for the John Browns of the privileged people to become allies, aligning themselves with pro-blackness or black interests?
Nah, they only use that. They only use that because they're scared. They want to fit in. Okay, yeah, you're gonna BLM or Black Lives Matter. That one made up by a white man, George Soros. So white people gonna say, "Oh, I'm gonna run with it. I like black people." They only use that, which is a form of racism, only to their advantage. Or they get on your side and try to, oh yeah, we'll fit in with the blacks, so we'll be safe over here. But when it comes down to some shit like money, or it come down to some court shit, they're gonna run back to their side. They're not gonna go and fight the battle for you. They only do it towards the best of their interests. Yeah, yeah, make it sound good. Yeah, I'm with the black people. You're not with us. You're never gonna be with us. Look at your grandfather. Look at his grandfather. That ain't even that many decades ago. Your grandfather, guaranteed your grandfather's grandfather owned slaves. We're not even talking 100 years ago. I guarantee you go back any white person history that grew up in America, especially the South. His parents or somebody owned slaves. Go back just say 100 years. Let's just say 90, 80 years. it's deep, man. This runs deep in my blood, and I love that you bring these topic up. And because I'm glad that people come on here to listen to these topics. These are very, very, very. I don't trust a white T man. I will never trust a white T man. You would never catch me on a boat trip with a white T man, a hunting trip, nothing with his white counterpartners, because I don't trust them. Period.
Hmm. Absolutely. And y'all need to be. Hey, he ain't capping about the hunting and them boat trips. Y'all need to stay away from them on them. Standing right next to a white team man with a pew pew. You know what I'm saying? Y'all need to be careful on these boat trips where y'all are on international waters where there's no law. The only law is the law of the sea. Some of y'all go missing. We've seen it already. We've seen it where a brother recently was I'm not sure if he actually drowned, but did he drown? His friends put him in the water. He couldn't swim,
They
and
put him in the
then
water. They put him in
yeah,
the water on purpose, and they knew he couldn't swim. They took him out into the middle of the world water and put him out there as it was a joke. And the man was struggling with the water, and the man died. The black
mm,
boy died.
mm,
Not just that. 2 years ago, the black hunters, white hunters, lynched that man in the woods, shot him to death like a fucking animal. Black guy was working with white guys on a white guy job. I don't know a particular job. I know it was in a southern state. His own girl said, "Baby, I don't feel right with you going with them." "Oh, I'm gonna be okay, baby." Black guy with dreadlocks went
mm.
out there with these hunters, and they lynched that black guy, shot him to death. They set the whole shit up.
Hey, just a heads up, family. Just be careful with the TikTok language, because yeah, otherwise they'll start messing with the viewership numbers. But just say things like strange fruit. We'll know what you mean, or pew pewed, or pow pow, or unalived, and yeah. But 100%, brother, 100%.
Yeah, that's facts, bro. And I think it's wild that we even feel we can trust them in our intimate relationships, in our personal lives, to the point it's almost like they've convinced us that race is a spectrum. There's people on the left and there's people on the right, and the people on the left are just as wrong as people on the right. You got to kind of meet somewhere in the middle where race doesn't exist. And the truth of the matter is that it's a caste system, a hierarchy built to oppress black people specifically. And I just think it's not we should look at whiteness as violence, nothing else, because whiteness has shown us that it is violent. What's going on, brother Timothy?
Hey, what's going on, family? Just chilling in the whip. I'm actually sitting next to my mom right now. We're finally convinced her to listen in for a little bit.
What's going on, Auntie, Mama Timothy, Mama Bassett? I'm not sure if
Hi,
she's
how you
alive.
doing?
Peace, peace.
Yep.
Yes, I'm listening to everybody.
Hmm.
I'm learning a lot.
Well, we're glad that's what the live is for. And your son has done an amazing job at educating brothers and sisters, not only here on my live, but on Brother Kron's live, and in our nonprofit organization. Timothy's also director. He's doing some really good work. I think you should be proud, sister.
I am quite proud of him. Very proud.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just want y'all people to understand. Like, I care about my people so much, and we so confused, we so brainwashed. They hide everything. They give us all this secular music on the radio, these secular videos for so many years. They put your people in poverty. We make the unalive each other. They put you under so much stress through your school system, through your banking system, to you buying a house. Everything that they do, they're attacking you from every single angle to make you mad enough to get a gun and pow pow pew pew, whatever y'all want to call it, to the next person that looks like you in your community,
Mm.
because of the stress and the trauma that we've been going through for so many years. What do you do when you put a dog in a cage for so many years? The only thing you do is take his food and shove it in the cage and lock him back up. He has nowhere to move, nowhere to go. You lock his mind up mentally. When you lock somebody's mind up mentally, you already defeated their whole purpose of them living. You defeated their body. You everything that's going to be going on in between the community, you already brainwashed their people. So they're automatically gonna turn on each other. Automatically. And that's what's been going on. And this is what we need to start doing as people. Leave them alone and start doing our own thing. People say, what do you mean when you do that? Everybody on here that looks like me or been through things like me, it's enough of us on here. We don't need to know each other. We just have to have the like common mind. Why haven't we went to go buy 100 acres? Why don't we get 100 brothers and sisters and go buy 100 acres? Why don't we start something and say, hey, 6 months from now, a year from now, every black family, we come together and do what we need to do. We put up $200 a month. You got 100 families on here. You know how much money that is in a year? We need to start thinking like that, growing our own fruit, our own vegetables. We need to, if you're going to eat animals, meat, go get your own animals. Stop buying it at the store. All the stuff in the stores, fruit and vegetables, has been poisoned from the land it grows on. I can talk about some deep conversations, and long as y'all let me, y'all listen to me, I can talk about a lot of deep things. This stuff get very, 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 very deep. The stuff they teach you in the school systems. Why schools built like jails? Go walk down the hall of it. Go walk down the hall. Same floors in the jail. Same ones in your school. Same ceiling tiles. Same ones in your school. Same bathroom stalls. Same ones in the jail. They built this society to do everything they can to hurt you. Oh, unless you're gonna go to private school. My kid's gonna go to private school. My daughter just finished private school. I'm glad she had a black teacher. I'm glad she had multiple black teachers in her school. Because if she wasn't going there. I went to a Christian Catholic school and seen a white T man all over the wall, private school. I said my daughter would never go here because you're going to indoctrinate that in my daughter when she's only 5 years old, and I can't go for that. And when you know the truth of what this man Allah or whatever God y'all want to say, whatever Jesus, whatever you want to say, you know what color he was. And we can't even get over that. But I hope y'all seen Putin when Putin came out and he showed y'all what color God really was, Jesus really was. He showed y'all that. Putin did. So they know what it is, but nobody was ever going to come to us and give us the praise, or not even give us the praise. Just open up that moderation and talk about it and say, hey, we owe y'all this. People keep waiting for reparation. You're not getting reparation. Stop it. That's all the confusion make you madder and madder. We're not getting it. We need to come together. We created over 1,700 things that people use every day in America, from traffic lights to the first car. Oh, Henry Ford made the first car. That was a lie. It was created by a black man, a black scholar. It was multiples of black scholars that don't get recognized because we don't do our study. The people said the best way to do something is hide it in a book from a black person because we don't read and educate ourselves. And this is what I try to do, is get our people to wake up. We're very, very, very smart people. We are the aboriginals of the land. We need to know where we come from. What they got going on in their community and other races, let them do them. We need to do for us. We need to start looking at the next brother and saying, I love you. Who are you? I care about you. Where do you come from? Where's your people live? We need to start getting the next brother or sister like that. If we don't, we are not going to make it. The next generation of our children are not going to make it. Look what they're bringing out for just the music alone. They're pushing for every agenda against our people, messing with anybody that got money, destroying or killing anybody that speaks like me. Y'all got to pay attention, open your eyes. Look how many people have been unalive that we know that spoke like me. Just a couple sentences to the mass of the people. And guess what? They're unalive. You want me to name a few? DMX, unalive. Debo from Friday, unalive. Anybody that don't get into their matrix system and follow what they do, these wannabe powerful people, they're going to unalive you, period. If you speak like me, they're going to try to unalive you. Basketball players, football players. But this topic is so deep, man. It's so much stuff that our people, we need to start loving on ourselves. Get away from this other hate and the way this system got our mentally brainwashed. We don't need them. We have everything we need. We have people growing crops as we speak. We got black farmland all down south.
All right.
We need to start living off the earth and doing for our people. And I'm gonna leave it alone. Hey, thank you, brother. I appreciate you having
Absolutely.
me.
Appreciate you. That's facts. There's a lot that internal work that brothers and sisters can do. And I did also want to ask you, why do you think we see things like the pictures up above me? Like, why do you think the community that is the reason we need a movement like Black Lives Matter seeks to do things like what you see up here? What do you think this is?
Uh, hmm. I know off the top that from what this picture is on the left, uh the white T woman, if anybody can understand what I'm saying, the white T woman, the stuff that they're doing now, they want to be us. They want
Mm.
to be exactly like us. They want the same molecular structure as you. This is why you've been seeing white T women taking melon shots. This is why all of our so-called say they are missing black women been missing. 77,000 women been missing because they're selling this melon on the black market to white T women that are rich and can buy our melon. This is why all these black women have been missing. Black people, you got to wake up. You have to wake up. The white T woman wants to be with a black man. She wants to have babies by a black man so she can hold on to something. She thinks that having a bank, going to the power source of what she knows is the power, she thinks she's going to run and get a baby by a black man so she can feel like her life can go on or she can feel safe. Because I don't understand if y'all know what's going on between now and 2025. If you don't know, and I'm going to let you know, and I'll leave this topic alone. World War III is here. It has started. What you need to be doing, and I'm going to leave this alone, is getting your water, getting your dry beans, and getting your rice. A lot of water, anything that you need for your household. This is what you need to be stocking up now. Why do I tell you this? I'm a truck driver. When something catastrophic goes off in America, all the shelves in every store will be cleaned out in 24 hours. It's not enough freight. It doesn't matter how many trucks you try to bring or this. Get your shit now. Stack up your water, your dry goods now. You don't need to tell everybody. You need to go do it and listen to what I'm telling you. Because when it goes down, get your medical supplies too. And if you're a 2A person like me, start buying your freaking ammo to protect your freaking house. That's what I'm going to leave you with.
All right. Every black brother and sister should be 2A, if y'all know what he means. Let me go to the next guest. Gene, give us your age, race, and pronouns, please.
My name is Gene. I'm 24, black, and go by he, him, they, them pronouns.
All right. Talk to us, family.
Okay, so can black and white sea culture peacefully coexist? Well, I'll say no because white sea culture does not exist. And, well, if it does exist, it's like it's mostly assimilation and just like take away all other cultures. So it's a hard no for me. Is allyship possible? Well, today's current status in this world, probably not, because I never see genuine true allyship, especially when they do like Black Lives Matter or LGBTQ. They always say they're ally, but yet they become like wolves in sheep's clothing. That's what basically I see, you know.
Absolutely. Wolf in sheep's clothing is pretty accurate. I mean, when it comes to black and white culture peacefully coexisting, that's something that we've never seen before. We've never in our uh, time on this planet seen white culture peacefully coexist with anyone, with any culture. White culture has always been uh, to the detriment of the indigenous and black cultures, or African cultures rather, that it seeks to, appropriate. Um, Also, I would like to add that, there's no such thing as, because people like to bring up appreciation, not appropriation. There's no such thing as an appreciation for black culture if you don't appreciate black people. And as a group, white tea people have shown us they do not appreciate black people. I'm gonna go to the next guest. I don't know why Santi is sending these calls. Give us your age, race, and pronouns.
um, my age is 18. Race is African American. Pronouns she/her.
All right, talk to us.
Um, well, no, we can never get along, sadly. It's just too much history. America is built on the history of racism. Child, anyway. America is built on the history of racism. It's literally the foundation for America, sadly. So I don't think that we're ever going to peacefully coexist as long as there are people who out there who are, how would I say, against. You know what I'm saying?
What would you say about other parts of the world? Do you think black and white culture can peacefully coexist in places in Europe, maybe, or in Africa?
Um, I believe so. I mean, I feel like many other places have not really had that same connection with racism, so they really don't understand it as much. So they really don't have a say on it. As like, let's say, opposed to, let's say, Mexico and the United States. Clearly, it would be more racism inside the United States because it's more, common and profound and found in America than Mexico. So, yeah, I don't think they really. Yeah, I
So,
think they could
do you
coexist in different
do
places.
you do you believe in peace and injustice can exist at the same time
Yeah,
in the same environment?
yeah.
So, if you've never heard the phrase "no justice, no peace," you disagree with that phrase?
No, I do agree with it, and I understand the meaning. But
Right.
yeah, I
So,
do agree.
right. So Martin Luther King says true peace is not the absence of tension, but the presence of justice.
Hmm.
Where is there an equitable society for Black people where we have peace and can coexist with white people?
Sadly, nowhere.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it's not really only the YT or white people. It's more as though most, well, okay, I would just put into account. There's 13% of all people in America are black. 55% of those murders are committed by black people. I believe as though we need to have justice within our own community before we can branch out to trying to coexist with YT. Because if we can't even coexist with ourselves, how can we coexist with anything else?
If you are in a house, right, and I own that house, and I can
Hmm.
control, what you eat and when you go to bed, is it your house or is it my house?
Your house.
Okay, so where does a Black community exist outside of the context of racism and white supremacy?
What do you mean? Like, what is it? What is it without racism?
Where, because you said we in our own community have to have justice first
Hmm.
before we have justice with other communities. So I would ask, where do we have a community controlled by us and not outside forces?
Places like Africa, raised
Um,
on black.
which country in
Mhm.
Africa would you say black people are autonomous and sovereign,
Um,
It's
independent?
not one. It's not one country over there in Africa. It's not ran by a white man. White man has not put his foot on, or he has not came over there and stole. He's still stealing from Congo right now. What we got to do is wake up as people. We don't control
but that
nothing
doesn't that
in this
doesn't
world.
that doesn't tie into what he said. He said, "Is
Say
there
what
a
he's saying.
place where there's a black community that's not being controlled by other forces?" Now, a person coming in and stealing something or maybe taking away, that's not exactly them taking control. That's them trying to take control and may succeed in some parts and may fail in some parts. That's exactly why back then there was black kings who owned slaves. Like, it's not just outside forces.
There was
Stop
never
letting.
black kings. There was never black kings that owned slaves. There was black kings that owned slave labor. That's a whole different topic. I really don't want to get into when we start pointing the finger at ourselves for oppression. But you've done that twice now, and I'm just asking, um,
I
where,
haven't pointed no fingers.
what country in Africa is independently ran by black people where we can demand justice and then receive said justice?
Um,
All right. So I guess we're not gonna. Somebody said Wakanda. I can't. Yo, y'all are funny, man. Somebody said Wakanda, yo. I cannot. um, the borders of African countries weren't even drawn by Africans. Let's start there. Like, let's start there. If we're gonna say that there's an African country that hasn't been colonized, I challenge someone to show me an African country whose borders were not given to them by an outside force, a non-African oppressor. I would also challenge you to find African countries that also haven't had their main export exploited by Europeans. Or maybe an African country where you can travel to an African country where you can travel to a neighboring country without a passport, the same way we can travel, from state to state to state. Why is there harsh border patrol on the African continent on borders drawn by non-Africans? So let's go to the next guest. Shaq 117. Give us your age, race, and pronoun.
I'm 20 years old and Jamaican. But on that specific topic that you were saying, why is the borders so enforced, right? In Africa, there's not really a race. It's not race. It's tribes, right?
Mhm.
Each country have their specific tribes and their
I
specific.
would
We
say
have
ethnicity other than tribe. Tribe has a primitive connotation to it. You never call a German a tribe. You never call a
in
Frenchman a tribe.
in some sense, because it's like because the landmass is so great, obviously you're going to have different features. But I mean, it's like you have a country right here, right? And hold on, let's formulate this idea real quick. All right, this country has a specific way of doing things, but the other might disagree or they have differences in the past. Like for example, in Niger, right? They let the French army out of their country, right? They had a coup, right? But the surrounding countries were not in favor of that coup because it wasn't in their best interest. So these European countries, what they do, is play both sides, destabilize the country, and cause that internal warfare or that civil war. Not actual like people killing each other, but I mean like the discourse between men and women on TikTok today, right? So
Mm.
that creates a form of hatred that is on a mental level that turn off each country's people against one another. Understand? So
Yeah.
I think it's more of a mental discipline to not seek help from Europeans or let's say just white people in general, right? Because if we're the if Africa is the continent with the most minerals, basically the most healthy labor force on earth right now. All we need is the application to apply with those resources, but we are not allowed because we cannot develop because if the continent is developed, we see no need for the West. You understand? Because that is the only reason why America or England or Russia can say these things and all the African leaders go back in their shell, right? So if we have the discipline to say, okay, we don't need aid money, we don't need uh, our personal needs or wants, if we can keep that at bay for like 10, 15 years, we could have some real change. And it's not like we're hating them, it's just we know what happened in history because of kindness. So that's my point really for right now.
Okay, thank you, Shaq. Dean, go ahead. You have a question for him?
Yeah, it's mostly for Big Mac. If he's wait, I don't know if he's still there or not. Okay, he's at coffee pot right now.
Mm. Yeah, he is. Coffee mug.
Yeah, because I did have a question for him about something or about something earlier.
Big Mac, are you there? You might be on the phone call.
Mm,
All
I'll
right.
just wait.
Yeah. Write it down. Don't forget it. We'll come back to you. Backlit Bit Bookie. Give us your age, race, and pronouns, please.
Age is 25, black. Pronouns are he, him, and they.
All right. Talk to us.
Okay, so my thing is though is that black and white people can be a part of their own cultures. I feel like black and people who are white can coexist, but the cultures though, so you can have somebody who is white tea who is not of white culture, because unfortunately white culture is mostly, colonialism, it's copying, it's genocide, right? But if a white tea person can acknowledge that and accept that, then they can definitely peacefully be with somebody who is marginalized and oppressed. But there is a lot of power at play, like power dynamics at play, that have to be dismantled first.
Outside of the individual, correct?
Yeah,
Right. Okay. And do you think? Oh, do you think allyship is possible?
allyship is possible. My thing is though, to be honest, I'm not too knowledgeable on what can be considered allyship, because in my line of work, where I'm at, I've worked with people mostly black, but also people who are non-black, who they do a lot for the black community, and they acknowledge their privileges too. It's a very much of a takes a lot of humility to be able to do that. I feel like, but it's out there, but I'm not sure if it's at the level that we need to be at. I think it's possible, but it's a needle in a haystack, pretty much.
I see. So, um, what would we be allied with white tea people on? What would be the agenda, the goal?
So I think that white supremacy, as we know it now, is harming anyone who's not of a higher class, and especially if you're brown and black. Especially, we're at a point now where we're in a patriarch, white supremacist society, especially in America and around the globe too. And I find that there are people out there, even people who are white tea, that would possibly benefit from fighting against white supremacy. But also, that's kind of hard for me to say because logically, if you're a white tea, you will have a benefit to white supremacy.
So, do you think that um, race or class is the real issue? Like, which one? Like, do you think classism is or capitalism is more impactful than racism?
That's a great question. And to be honest, I don't have the answers to that, but I can give my experiences though. If that would help. But I do think that race and class intersect. Always have. So I find
So,
that
do you think white tea people um, would rather be poor or like I'm not I don't know how to answer this how to ask this question. I'm saying based off right what we've seen in elections and the type of rhetoric we've seen coming from this community, not our community, the oppressors community. Um, it seems like white tea people will even vote against their own best interests as far as class in order to continue to wield the power of whiteness. Like,
yes,
you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So to me, it seems like the priority has always been to protect whiteness, and they don't
yeah,
care how poor they are as long as they don't want to UN words.
absolutely. And I think throughout history too, we've seen wealthy white teen men and women who pretty much like turn poor white men and women against people of color, like Asian, black, especially black, brown people, Native American people. I think there's a lot of historical evidence currently of that too. But I find that no, I think you're right. You're absolutely right. People will want to protect whiteness to
So, what do you
assimilate.
think is the motivator? Why do you think they will act against their own self-interest, right? Like they'll get tax cuts for rich people, raise taxes in their own neighborhood, inflation, and see all this stuff going on that directly impacts them negatively in their own personal life, but will still
Oh
vote for
yeah,
the biggest races they can find. Like, what do you think is the motivator behind that?
that's a good question. I think it's so complicated because when I look at these presidential or any other politician, to be honest, I see whether they're Republican or at times even progressive. If I vote Trump or Biden, Sudan will still suffer. Palestine will still suffer. Congo will still suffer if I vote Biden or Trump. Only thing though is that Trump is much more openly, racist though compared to Biden. But Biden, even Obama himself, have all said things that are very problematic for the black. So Obama himself has said we are in a
Said
post-racial
he's
society.
done. He's
Done.
done.
He's done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um.
So I find
Yeah.
I find that a lot of people who are black, who are of a higher class, they tend to assimilate to proximity to the harmful white supremacist cultures that harm their own communities. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah,
Do you know about Dr. Frances Cress Welsing's work?
I don't.
I would encourage you to check her out. Dr. Frances, France like the country France with an S at the end, and then
Okay.
Welsing, Welsing. She's the creator of the Cress theory, Cress. I also want to remind people that theories are proven hypotheses. Sometimes people get theory and hypothesis mixed up.
Could I just chip in for a moment? I wanted to give my opinion on that question.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. All right. For example, in Jamaica, right, we basically have four classes of people here, right? You have the poor black person, the rich black person, and then that's in the country area of Jamaica, right? Then you move to the city where you have that we call uptown, right? You have the poor uptown, and the rich uptown. The rich uptown people normally is light skinned to white people, like straight white, right? But in in the comparison between all four, among all four classes, it's colorism mixed with racism because in essence it's like this. The what would I say now? In the acquirement of wealth, right? It always seems to follow one set of people. But if I achieve being wealthy, it doesn't make me being or trying to be white, right? It's me understanding that I have acquired this amount of wealth and I need to move accordingly. If I seem white, that doesn't make me a bad person or trying to emulate a white person. You understand what I'm trying to get across?
How could you acquire wealth in this country without mimicking a white tea person?
Okay, let me explain now. Right? If I have a business and I am doing something so different to everything that a normal person in that said business would do, right? I am being different from them. I am going the extra mile. I'm showing initiative in trying to better myself, right? If I reach at that level where I can say, okay, I don't have to live in the country anymore. I can live in the city or I can live in the mountains or wherever. In how I'm moving, right? That means I don't have to like, for, for, for you, it might be difficult, right? But sometimes Jamaicans act ghetto, but it's not like it's wrong, but it's just it's not decent. You understand? It's like I don't have to go and curse all the time or smoke weed or drink everywhere I go. Nothing wrong with it, you know. Nothing is wrong with it. But I
Mm,
mean, it's not how I want to carry myself.
mm.
But me, me not because I don't want to do that. That doesn't mean the other white persons or the light skinned person that doesn't do it. That doesn't mean I want to be like them. It's just what come with the wealth that I acquired or the environment that I'm in. Understand?
I'm not sure. We're getting kind of lost. You got a lot of sound in the background.
Alright, that's
I
fine.
also wanted to let brothers and sisters in here know to keep tapping like. We stuck at 21K. Let's get to 25. Keep tapping like, brothers and sisters.
Thank you, host, for the topic and for having me up. I'm gonna drop now.
Yes, sir. Peace, brother. Oh man. But yeah, brother. Yeah, you got a lot of noise in the background. We can barely make out what you're
Oh,
saying.
let me turn that off. It's better now. The
Yes.
rain was just falling. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm just saying it's like even in America, just because the person has money or it's they don't make money the conventional black way, which is either um, being an actor, entertainer, or some form of music artist, right? That doesn't disqualify my means of success or who I am as a person of color.
Mm.
Yeah. So that's just me either trying to be myself without a group of people trying to put me in a box of what a black person should be. Also, that's me trying to navigate my way the best way as possible because a lot of persons of color, like for art, for example, in America, I always hear people speaking about they don't have any money or the rent is too high or but the things that they prioritize in life it that is the only explanation why they can afford things, right? Because they will go every day buy a coffee for $10, $15, or they will go to the club.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know what he's talking about. And everybody in the comments look real lost. Um, brother, come back up when you got a better signal or something. I'm not sure. Did y'all know what he was talking about? I don't even know.
To be honest, I fell asleep. I did not know what's going
You
on.
know what I'm saying? And the numbers start going down. I'm like, bruh, I don't know what you're talking about. But I try to be polite, man. I be trying to be polite. Nobody know what he was talking about. He was going
Like I
all over the place. Like, I don't know. He's going talking
like
about.
I start having a conversation about anime in the comment sections. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening right now. Sometimes you gotta, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes you gotta pop them out, like Kendrick said. You know what I'm saying? Yo, Kendrick about to have a concert, man. I wish I was in LA still. He's about to have a yeah. That you know that's gonna be fly, man. That's about to be so fly, bro. Man, it's gonna be and I don't know anyone that's in LA. Go to Leimert Park. If y'all know about Leimert Park, oh my goodness, it's like Wakanda. It's like, oh my goodness, man. If you're a brother and you single in LA, be careful because LA is not a good place to date. LA is a bad place to go dating. But you will find some sisters at Leimert Park. I don't know if they do the juice joint still on Hollywood Boulevard. I'm not sure they still do it, but that's a good place too. The juice joint. Um, but yeah. All right. That was interesting. I think what I was speaking to the brother when he was talking about the reasons behind the psychology of white tea folks. A lot of us can learn something from Dr. Frances Cress Welsing and her work on understanding the reason for racism. Some of y'all don't understand the reason racism exists psychologically in our oppressor's mind. You understand that the system is a manifestation of the thought patterns of a people group. So the system was created to benefit a people group. Now, what did they deem beneficial? What did they deem beneficial? Why was it beneficial for them to treat non-white people inhumanely? There's a psychoanalysis of this called the ISIS Papers by Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. I'll put the book on screen for y'all so that you can understand why the system operates the way it does. If you've ever heard of systemic racism, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing and Dr. Neely Fuller Jr. are the reason you have heard of that term. They're the ones that defined it as a system. Not just an institution, by the way. A lot of people confuse institutional racism with systemic racism. Institutional racism is systemic, but not all systemic racism exists within an institution. There is systemic racism on weekends and holidays. Okay, institutions are closed and racism still keep going. Why is that? Because the social system of racism continues to perpetuate and influence all 10 areas of people activity, according to Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. So, this is stuff that a lot of brothers and sisters have to scour the internet to find out about. There are more scholars, but understanding racism, your first people you want to go to is Dr. Frances Cress Welsing and Dr. Neely Fuller Jr.'s Compensatory Counter-Racist Code. He wrote a textbook. This man, a brother, still alive today. I think he was born in 1924. He's 90 years old. No, I think he's 94. He was born in like 1928, I think. Oh no, 1920. All right, so anyway, he's 94. So old man. And he wrote a book, a textbook on racism. Textbook meaning It's scientific. It's textbook meaning you can ask a question and the textbook will give you a concise answer to that question based on a psychoanalysis of racism and white supremacy. Peace, African superstar, my sister. What's going on? Good to see you. Good to see you. Everybody, if you're into Pan-African content and want to hear some good music, go check out my sister, the African superstar, down in the comments, man. She's a sister that's from the United States, but found her roots and planted her roots in the motherland, and she's got quite an exciting story. That's a fly sister to follow. You know what I'm saying? Learn you something about the continent if you want to see it through our lens, even as African Americans. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so at the end of the day, we as Black people should understand the context of the hostile environment we are put in. If you watch, there's a show on TV called Fallout. It's based on a video game where basically nuclear boom booms go off, and hundreds of years later, people come out of a vault and they have to live in this environment with all this radiation and mutants and all this other stuff going on, right? That's racism. That's what racism is. Racism is COVID-19. Racism is, and how did we combat COVID-19? How did we stop it from spreading? How did we protect ourselves during that time? We learned as much as we could about it, and then we knew how to move in society. That is how Black people need to look at racism. That is how we need to look at racism. We have to know as much about it as we can, so that when we operate in society, we understand the context of everything going on with us. And that's why it's important to teach our children this. That's why it's important to teach ourselves. Absolutely, Sister African superstar, appreciate you. But yeah, so that's what I advocate for. That's what this platform is about. Teaching brothers and sisters to think more critically. That's Dr. Neely Fuller Jr. And then to understand the system. That is Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. And when you get a little bit deeper into it and you start to want to do something about the system of racism, white supremacy, and how we can come together to mitigate its effects, then brothers and sisters, look no further than Dr. Amos Wilson and the Blueprint for Black Power. And then once you get to that level of consciousness, y'all, we really talking. Oh, go ahead, Gene.
This is like a random question. I heard like the BMI scale is rooted in racism. Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't
So is psychology. So is medicine. So is everything they tell you is healthy. We living in a society that values inhumanity. It is inhumane for people to work 8 hours a day. It is inhumane for you to only get 30 minutes for lunch. It's inhumane, so on, so much and so on. You can just go on and on and on and on. We live in a society that values inhumanity. And then those same people that value inhumanity created a system to where they're going to teach you what's healthy. They're going to teach you what's healthy based on research that they did on other white folks. So they say, oh yeah, this medicine you're taking, this is going to help cure this and that, the third. Meanwhile, they're from Europe. We are completely, like, I don't want to distance ourselves from, there's only one race technically, right? Humanity. We all understand that. But at the end of the day, we have a different, different traits, a different, digestive system. Different things affect different people differently depending on their background. I can eat the same food as a white tea man and have different results. I might get diabetes or have heart problems. And if you want to know more about a decolonized form of health, physical health, then I would say look at Dr. Sebi and look at Dr. Layla Africa, who kind of speaks more to that, especially mental health. I'm a mental health advocate for all my brothers and sisters. We need it the most. we need the most. Brothers and sisters, I'm a mental health advocate. I'm not a therapist. You know what I'm saying? So find you a way to, take care of your mental health, especially black men, because masculinity defined by our ancestors included balance between mind, body, and soul. So that was masculinity, balancing both the feminine and the masculine energy in you as a man. But mental health is important. Therapy, in the context of racism, white supremacy, is not going to always lead to mental health. It might help you with some of your problems, but according to Dr. Amos Wilson, there is no mental health for black people that would neglect us being trained to have a positive association with our Africanness. So if your therapist is not sitting down and reassuring, reaffirming, and showing you the positive sides of being black and being aware of your African proximity, then that is not a mental health specialist that's going to help you heal all the way. You're going to have to do the rest of the work yourself. And that's a shame because some people don't have the ability to do the rest of the work themselves. Some people don't have the capacity for that. Yeah, some of y'all going to the enemy for your therapist, and they're going to train you based on what they deem healthy, which is the minds of white T men from the 1800s or early 1900s, and tell you that based on what we know about white folks, you're unhealthy. Appreciate you, Gabriella. Go ahead, talk to us, Timothy.
Yeah. So just to, so that way some of our African family doesn't have a like, it is absolutely definitely still vital that you seek, or at least attempt to seek, as much of a um, African like centered therapist as you possibly can. But if you cannot find that, and trust me, it is hard as hell to find. Like damn near impossible. Literally, the only person I can even remotely come close to thinking about is Dr. Umar Johnson, and it's just like,
I'm about to say that maybe
yeah.
Dr. Umar and is Joy DeGroy a clinical psychologist? I don't know.
I mean, technically, like I'd have to do a little bit more digging into her like specific area of expertise and whether or not she even still sees patients today.
Yeah.
Um, but the number one way to, and of course, I mean, there's some areas where I'm not really 100% a fan of what Dr. Umar Johnson like says specifically, and that's more so like the vast majority of what he talks about, correct. But yeah, like I would say that the best way to start the process, or at least get your mind in the headspace of things that you could potentially do and implement into your life immediately, would be to pick up the books and read the books that specify these types of things. Like Dr. Joy DeGruy literally wrote a book called Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, and she explains in detail all the different reasons as to why certain types of psychological issues are still present or still prevalent, that these are literally passed down trauma responses. So us just responding to something and we're thinking, oh, that's normal behavior, oh, that's just our culture. In reality, that has been generations of trauma that's been forcibly inflicted onto us, that we've had no choice but to internalize methods of surviving that trauma and then passing that down generation after generation. And then now we're sitting here thinking, oh yeah, I spank my kids because spanking, that helps with the children. But in reality, it does originate from Europeans and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And then so there's the Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome by Dr. Joy DeGruy, and then there's a book called The Unapologetic Guide to Black Mental Health by Dr. Rita Walker. And I can also show the pictures to this, and I'll also type them in the chat. And then there is the Psychology of Self-Hatred and Self-Defeat by Dr. Amos Wilson. Yep. So all of that, definitely tools to at least get jump started in the right direction of where to go and what to do. The Unapologetic Guide to Black Mental Health, I would take parts of that book with a grain of salt, just because it more so talks about how, like, all right, if you can't find a African American therapist, then you're just gonna have to settle with a YT therapist. And I'm like, I don't really agree with that part of it. Yeah, but like she was definitely dropping gems for sure. But that part of it, I was just like, Nah.
I'll be honest though, Tim. Some of us are so messed up that like if you got like PTSD symptoms, you got bipolar disorder, different things. A little help is better than none at all. So I kind of understand that sentiment, and the rest of the work you're gonna have to do yourself. But I would say, spiritually, I've been uplifted a lot by Ifa. Some brothers and sisters know what I'm talking about, but our ancestors didn't have therapists, but they did have community leaders and certain rituals that will get you right. Like there's rituals in Ifa that will get you right. Like your teacher, understand that spirituality is different than religion. Spirituality is different for everybody. It's a different journey for everyone. But there's certain rituals that will be recommended by an elder that you do. And even though it's not magic, it's not just a magic ritual, but doing that can help you start to see things a little differently. And I think I like that physical ritual to put your brain somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? Let's let Dr. Steele talk to us. Go ahead, sister.
Yeah, sure. I would say just to the topic, kind of the first step, because a lot of times when people are facing themselves, it can be really intimidating and really challenging to even reach out to somebody, right? So I recommend kind of first step is just to journal, like just getting a journal and just literally like dumping everything out on your mind and not trying to filter it or go back and read it. Just literally get it out. Like we see it on the lives a lot where people will come up and literally it's like I'll put in the comments journal time because literally their stream of consciousness that could be going in their journal is now in the live. And so, those are great things. Like if you're struggling with something, if you're ruminating on something, just something's bothering you. And here's the other thing I really want to kind of bring home. It's so important to sit with yourself first with any kind of adversity, difficulty, situation, circumstance. Why? Because when you go start speaking to other people about what's going on, you're drowning out, creator, God, whoever you want to, whatever, your ancestors, etc. You're drowning out that voice.
Mm-hmm.
And so instead, you're listening to everyone else's perception, which is really important. It's mental health and mental, emotional, and spiritual health is very interconnected. What I've learned, as a holistic doctor and, structuring and writing curriculum for holistic medicine, it begins first on the physical realm, right? But that's our Western medicine, right? We're trained to do it the opposite. We're trained to go in for a physical ailment. We're trained to ignore and disassociate. We're trained not to trust ourselves, right? Because obviously, if we trust ourselves, we're not easily co-optable. So it's really about tuning in instead of tuning out. A lot of distractions, dopamine everywhere, the little notifications on your phone, the television, the music, everything is always go, 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 especially in the United States. It is very, it's intentional that there are so many assaults to your nervous system. Not to mention the fact that your nervous system all of our nervous systems are already super heightened to begin with. So then you put all those dopamine responses plus the poor diet. I tell patients all the time, get off the diet. You have to get off the food supply. In the States, especially, the food supply is toxic. It's poison. You have to absolutely grow your food. I know it's a pain in the butt. There are a lot of affordable like hydroponic setups that you can do that fit in a small spaces, but the food is definitely a problem indeed. And self-awareness, sitting with yourself, journaling, those are all good steps. And then lastly, I'll leave resources. So if you look psychologytoday.com, I'm a columnist on there, and they have a directory where you can look up psychologists and you can actually specify if they're Black psychologists, you can also specify what insurance they accept, if they do accept insurance, and if they're seeing any new clients. And there's also a lot of Black mental health professionals on this app as well that host lives and give out a lot of really good free content. So just FYI.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing those resources with us, sister. And yeah, it absolutely it is in the food. And it's a shame that other people oh, I didn't know she left, but shout out to the doctor, Dr. Steele. But yeah, food is definitely the problem. And I won't say everybody, but other non-white communities know this as well. Even the white community knows it. They got their vegan food, right? Like you go to the once was a time, I'm not sure about now. Somebody can let me know. I haven't seen it still, but maybe y'all got Whole Foods in Black communities. Do Black communities have Whole Foods yet? Let me know, because I remember back maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, Whole Foods was not in our communities. You had to go to, one of the affluent communities to get to get Whole Foods. You know what I'm saying? And they know that, right? They got this vegan food and all this other stuff, and then you got the ish people, right? You know, small hats, the people that don't like Palestinians. They got their kosher food, right? So they made sure, even though they're gonna live here in America, live here amongst y'all, they ain't eat what y'all eating. And then you got halal, right? Then you got halal. Then you got what they eating. You know, once again, a code of ethics guides their morality and what they feed their own people. But then you got Black people, and we just eat anything, right? I seen a sister, she made candied Popeyes. Y'all can look it up. She candied some Popeyes. I think she should go to jail, but I'm gonna go to the next guest. She should go to jail for that.
Going to jail for candy Popeyes is, I mean, okay, at least a month. At least a month
Yeah,
and locked
yeah,
up.
she need 30 days. Yeah, at least.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, so no, but seriously, candied Popeyes, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Y'all can look it up. It's wild. Gene, go ahead, talk to us.
Yeah, so what I'm gathering from Dr. Still is like processed food is making us more depressed, am I understanding? So that means like try to eat like more natural food like fruits. That's what I'm understanding so far.
It's just unhealthy all around, to be honest. Whether it's depression, but I think she was speaking to depression. But yeah, like
Yeah,
dopamine,
yeah,
stuff
because
like
like I have a big back, like I be eating a lot, so I be trying my best not to stay away from it. But
that.
I'm learning. I'm learning as
Yeah.
I go because losing
Well, I
weight is
would
so hard.
say for me and my wife, we do squats. We be doing squats up in here. You know what I'm saying? Because we sit down a lot. So anybody that sits down a lot, you might want to try to knock out maybe 50 squats. Just work your way up. We started at 10. You know what I'm saying? But every day you should do some squats. You know what I'm saying? It really
I ain't,
for me
I
and
ain't
her,
gonna
it really helped.
lie.
Yeah.
Ain't gonna lie. You look like you work out a lot.
I do. I'm gonna take that as a compliment because I don't, but
People be
I
saying that
need
all the
to.
time. It's
I
like,
need
nope.
to, and don't look at my videos from last year because I definitely gained a few. I got married, so I've been living a good life. You know what I'm saying? But yeah.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead, Timothy.
Oh yeah, no, I was just gonna say that yeah, like family Gene, they what they do a lot of times is and there's actually research papers that confirm this. They put the most poisonous, the most detrimental food, the most poisonous poison technically, and they advertise it the most within black communities. That's also part of the reason why they have aggregated so many black communities, because they want to be able to target black communities specifically to be able to do things like that. And so, like, for example, you'll see that tobacco products are advertised for the most within predominantly black communities. Like, there's even been, I think, a few music artists that have actually like gone to specific like areas and promoted certain things pertaining to tobacco products. Obviously, there's certain restrictions on it now that they know more knowledge about the limitations, but still, the bulk of those advertisements you're going to see within black communities. And we're seeing a direct impact from that because black people are becoming more fixated on, well, not fixated, but they're becoming more dependent on these substances and these foods that are literally leading to higher cancer rates, higher whatchamacallit, higher like plaque within the arteries, higher risk of stroke, higher risk of heart attack, higher like all of these things. And then also on top of that, we were fed nothing but the scraps and nonsense for centuries during slavery. So that also impacted our genetics to where we now have more of a greater likelihood of having issues with heart problems, issues with certain specific things that tie directly to that history. So it's very, very real out here. That's the reason why you're seeing a lot of brothers that are all of a sudden just keeling over because they're having heart issues. Because there's also that culture that has been forcibly imposed onto black people to never go to doctors. Because technically speaking, doctors are very dangerous for black people, but at the same time, it's very vital and important that we go to the doctors. It's just that oftentimes we make the mistake of going to predominantly white tea institutions and even when we're looking at the grocery stores are usually further away and you have to like take a bus or an extra two buses just to be able to get to a grocery store that you can start buying fresh produce at. But then you look around the corner and you could get any amount of fried food like just real quick for like $5. And so they've set it up deliberately so that it's so that it's cheap to be unhealthy but expensive to actually save ourselves. So,
So, you're describing like gentrification. Is that right?
yeah, well, gentrification plays a part in it. But also they very deliberately like impose a lot of that nasty, like toxic type of foods and high processed food. Like y'all, high processed foods literally mean lead to the higher increases of fluoride, right? And fluoride actually calcifies the pineal gland. So the pineal gland is responsible for your perception of reality. It also gives you like the chemicals necessary to wake up in the morning or the chemicals to make you go to sleep. And people of African ancestry, our people, us, we have the least likely, we have the least calcified pineal gland in the entire world. So that's the reason why you see a lot of people of African ancestry have more of a connection to the spiritual because that's literally tied in with the melanin concentrations in our bodies and in our brains, and we have more connectivity related to that. And there's actual research papers that prove this. But when you eat a whole bunch of processed food, you literally get almost in like a daze or like a fuzzy way of like thinking or a fuzzy sense of like you can't think clearly because it's literally messing with your pineal gland. It's messing with your brain's ability to be able to process complex thoughts or come to complex conclusions because you've got so much fluoride pumping through your body. They put it in your food, they put it in your toothpaste, they put it in the water. Like that's why you got to get non-fluoride water, but you got to get mineral water, like mineral non-fluoride water, and that's why they usually sell those types of waters in more expensive neighborhood type stuff. Like that's it all ties in with all of that. It's all like a domino effect. Like yeah, so they have stages and stages and stages on top of each other to prevent black people from gaining access to just being able to be as healthy as we possibly can be. There's ways to do it. It's just that if we're not educating ourselves on how to do it, then we are very much so destroying ourselves. Like French fries has been linked to depression, y'all. Big surprise. So guess what? Nobody should be going to McDonald's anymore to get them damn French fries, even though they delicious as hell. Trust me, that is one of my weaknesses. I'm like, oh shit, French fries. As soon as I found that out, the first thing I was thinking was like, damn, how am I going to do this? But I slowly started working at it. But yeah, it's like these are things that we really got to watch out for and pay attention to.
Dr. Steele, talk to us.
Yeah, so all right. So okay, let me kind of all right, let me start here. Um so are you guys familiar with what Rockefeller did?
Depends on what you mean by that.
All right. So before the healthcare systems were defined, okay, there was all different types of doctors. There was naturopaths, there was medical doctors, there was osteopaths, there was homeopaths, right? And there was all different types of professions, and many of which did natural things, right? Natural remedies, etc. And then Rockefeller got in trouble for racketeering. And so he tried to revamp his image by starting Rockefeller Philanthropies. He sent a gentleman out by the name of Flexner, who wasn't a doctor, to go out to all the medical schools and pretty much discredit all the naturally occurring substances. Because Rockefeller realized that, you can't patent naturally occurring substances, but if you combine them with synthetic, like petroleum, for instance, because he's a big oil man, you put those together, then you could patent it and create the pharmaceutical industry, right? But this was prior to even us being deemed as quote unquote human, right? So the healthcare system of today is really built for a YT man. They used us in experiments, right? Tuskegee, also, in terms of women and, gynecological, like they've used us the entire time, right? And they've tested on us just because of our superiority and our metabolic health, right? So in genetically it's a little bit more complex, but metabolically, and this is based off of data that I have taken personally in my office. I treated over 40,000 patients when I was in like physical practice. And so I take all these health metrics, like over 350 health metrics on patients, and I had this really incredible in-body scan, and I would put patients on it. And when you're looking at lean muscle mass, when you're looking at bone density, when you're looking at, like somebody mentioned about BMI is extremely racist. And so we would use a sophisticated scale to be able to actually give patients their real metrics, because we would look at visceral fat, right? So fat around the midsection, which when we talk about that, I call it, it's a little offensive when I say it, but I call it the slave diet, right? And it's that high fat, high sugar, high sodium diet, right? It was made for us to be able to go work all day uninterrupted. And it was the scraps, right, that we were given. So there's the genetic implication, right, which is less than 30% with things like high cholesterol, metabolic conditions, right? However, that accounts for very little. The rest is environment. But because a lot of people were not allowed to feel, right? We have deep levels of suffering. And so we internalize that. We swallow our emotions down, right? And so the esophagus, right, our throat is a two-way channel. So if we don't express ourselves, if we don't get our communications out, we're going to stuff food down, right? And what makes us feel comfortable? High fat, right, is going to make us feel heavy, the satiety feeling, we've got our big bellies, we're like, yeah, we're nice and full, right? Because that feels comforting, that feels soothing, especially when we've been through something, right? And so you're high sodium, right? And a lot of people are dehydrated, right? And the other thing I'll mention is people give way too much credit to medical doctors. They do not realize the level of ignorance that they have and actually how to heal the body. Biochemistry is the foundation of the body. When you go to the doctor and you get labs drawn, let's say you're not feeling well and you go to the doctor and the doctor runs all the tests and they tell you everything's fine, right? If you look at that actual lab panel, it's got highs and lows and highs and lows. And even when you ask about it, hey, what about all this? Oh, everything's fine. It's because in the Rockefeller system, they train the doctors to look for and identify and diagnose a disease, right? A diagnosis is what? It's just nothing more than an educated guess. It's a sophisticated labeling system. That's all it is, right? And so it's a catalog that they have created completely out of nowhere. And so they're trained in that. That's the only thing they can see. So when they're looking at your labs and they're taking all that information, they're looking at you from the system. Now, here's the tricky part. Whether that person is YT or Black in that system right now, it doesn't matter. Why? Because there's no cultural education or cultural intelligence. You only get that if you do an MPH. If you do a master's in public health, you get that information, but you don't get that information in a standard, medical or healthcare practice. And there is an intentional, I guess, deletion or not. They intentionally don't teach them biochemistry to the depth, because when I learned biochemistry and I learned how the body worked, I was like, oh my gosh, you can actually see with health data, you can see the body manifesting disease. If you know what you're looking at, you can prevent things way before it happens. But because they don't train the doctors properly and they're ignorant, and the patients don't know any better, the patients are coming in, they're getting sicker and sicker and sicker and sicker and sicker until, now they need what do they need? They need a medication, they need a procedure, etc. And with that Commonwealth Fund study that just came out in 2024, that said that we have 52% subpar health standards, health outcomes, and health access in all 52 states. All 52 states, every single one, obviously worse in the South. It's actually a health literacy issue. And their solution was, we need more health insurance. Why? To go into a healthcare system that is literally corrupt. We saw that during COVID. It is so corrupted. And I don't want to maximize the panel, and I'll close my mic here, but there is a reason that I walk the way that I do, and I am the way that I am, and I have chosen to completely remove myself and dedicate myself to getting health information and health data to people and teaching them their data. If you understand, like my patients in my practice, you can't mess with them, because I've taught them how to navigate the healthcare system, how to navigate the CPS, how to navigate the doctors, how to navigate the medical records. It is a whole system, and if you don't know it, unfortunately, you'll either be a victim to it or you'll be profited from. And we are the leading, $98 billion is how much chronic disease is making this system. And guess who the leading community is in that? It's us. So they're making money off of us coming and going.
Wow. That's profound. That is wild. Wow. To hear it from the inside is a whole different experience, because I've gone to the doctor several times and been dismissed. My wife has. We're getting ready to go. I mean, that's another thing too. I guess it kind of speaks to the other thing I wanted to talk about with Gene, because there's a reason psychologically I had to heal from not wanting to work out, because I'm 6'4", and I find that when I start to have a little bit of a physique, you know what I'm saying? I start to, get a little brawly. I start to see people treat me different. I start to see people fetishize more, even when they talk to me, you know what I'm saying? I'll be out and about, people be staring at me. I've even had white tea women come up and touch me for no reason. And I guess this happened to me when I was young, you know what I'm saying? And I've even had old white tea couples approach me and ask me if I was into some things. The brothers know what I'm talking about. Because if you're a black man in America, at some point in your life, if you live in a big enough city, at some point in your life, a white tea couple might fall in your DMs, or a white tea woman that says she got money for you might fall into your DMs. And brothers, we don't talk about that stuff, but I've talked to enough brothers to know that y'all know what I'm talking about. But yeah, so I started to have a negative association with health, and I won't say health, working out, because of that. And that was like a lot of trauma. And another thing is, because I'm so tall, when I go to the doctor and I say, hey, because I have TMJ, like my jaw like really hurts sometimes, or I have a hiatal hernia, so like my stomach be hurting. I'll go to the doctor, and they'll just look at me because I'm so tall, and just be, especially when I'm working out, and just be like, oh no, you're fine. Oh, you're strong as an ox. Look at you. Yeah. And it's like, bro, I just told you on a scale of 1 to 10, my pain is like a 7. Um, you know, what? how am I okay? Like, you're telling me this is how life is? It's just supposed to hurt? Life is just supposed to be pain? So that's the thing. Uh, what did you have to say, Dr. Steele?
Yeah, so TMJ, so think about like your posture, right? And so you're tall, right? So I'm sure you're like having to like crouch down in different
And my
spaces and
wife is
stuff.
5 feet tall. So yes, my posture
Oh
is
my gosh. Like, oh,
fine.
yeah, exactly. Tippy toes at that point. So, okay, so think about looking down, right? So what's happening? Your whole front center is moving down, but
Mm,
also your traps, right? So your shoulders and your neck muscles are contracting. Then you
yeah.
have this other muscle called your SCM. It's a neck muscle, right?
Mm,
And so it gets contracted and then it contracts your jaw, right? And then
mm.
it starts to contract your masseter and your buccinator. You would be shocked at how much thousands of dollars dentists make off of the little mouth guards, how much chiropractors make off of
They're
correcting this,
expensive as
how
hell.
much, oh my gosh, all of it. Okay, so check this out. I healed my TMJ. Let me tell you what to do. So all you're going to do is you need to reverse your posture because you need to open up the muscles on the anterior of your neck. So you're going to go like the incorrect way on your bed and just lean your head back and stretch all those anterior muscles. Do it like, start off with like 5 minutes a day, like a couple times a day, and then work up to 15 minutes. When you start to do that, all those muscles, those forward rotation muscles that you're all kind of squunched up, are going to start to relax and release. And then you'll notice your jaw will release.
Okay, real quick, because I'm gonna actually do this.
Yeah.
You said get on the bed, and so I'm gonna lay on my stomach. I'm assuming.
No, like your
Okay.
back, like you're like you want to dip your head like over the side of the bed.
Okay.
Make sense?
Okay. So I'm laying on my back. Oh, I see what you're saying, and kind of like
Yes.
push
Like you're
my
doing
posture.
now, like extension, like how you tip your chin up like that. Go
Right
ahead and
here.
do that now. Yeah, and
Right.
feel the front of your neck. Does it feel tight?
Yeah, it does. Very tight.
Exactly.
It makes it even hard to
Exactly.
swallow right there
I
because it's so
know.
tight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All those muscles are all contracting and pulling on your jaw. That's all it is. That's
Wow.
all it is.
Okay.
Think
Okay.
about how many thousands of dollars people rip off. You have no idea how
Mm-hmm.
many, like, it blows my mind. Like,
Yeah.
like, I mean, just don't even get me started. Anyway, yeah, that'll totally do it for you for sure.
Absolutely. Well, appreciate that, sister. In the words of Kwame Ture, Dr. Stokely Carmichael, capitalism does corrupt everything it touches. And because of that, even our health industry does not seek to eradicate illness, but instead to perpetuate, to keep it going enough so that you continue to buy the medicine. And we see that in across all other industries. I have a spiritual connection to music as a music producer myself. And I look at it like, a lot of the music we listen to today is poison, and music is something that's meant to heal. This is all subjective. Y'all might not believe me, but music is meant to heal. And it's interesting how capitalism has corrupted music to sell you the poison and then keep you mentally sick to where you would go back to music to heal yourself with more poison. And that's capitalism always creating a cycle of just fixing you just enough to feel better and then come back for more treatment. Um, yeah. Go ahead, Gene.
Mm, so, do you play any sports when you're younger?
Oh, no, and I got that question a lot. I hated sports. Probably because everyone asked me that. I was a musician. I liked using my creativity, creative muscles. I
Okay,
was
okay.
a music producer
Like,
for 10 years. Yeah. Go
do
ahead.
you think like sports are inherently problematic in a way, or no?
Yeah, absolutely. For black men, absolutely. We shouldn't be thinking about sports. Sports is a distraction, and if you're training your son to do sports, physical health is important. Someone brought up testing your physical limits as when you're young is that's very exciting. That's great stuff. Sports itself, in the context of our oppression, is non-constructive and it's actually destructive because and Dr. Umar says this a lot, but he's spot on. You're basically training your child to go to jail because 99 times out of 100, your child is not going to make it to the pros, and you're giving them this false sense of hope that someday the YT power structure will include them if they just work hard enough. And look at the ones that do work hard enough, right? They have to at some point align themselves with the white power structure through a woman. They like it's just it, we should not be focusing on distractions. I just made a video about this, and I mentioned Panem et Circenses is a quote from Juvenal, who was a poet back in ancient Rome in the second century AD. And basically, what that phrase mean is it not the complete translation, but the translation itself means bread and circuses. Give them bread and circuses, and they will never revolt. They'll forget to revolt against you. So we as a people will never revolt against our oppressor. Will never stand up for our own liberation if we keep trying to figure out how to tap dance, sing, and play sports for their amusement. That's not constructive. Kuma,
Hey, what's up? I heard
peace.
something that I'm like really interested in, so I jumped up here because and oh, you keep floating around all of it. First of all, really quickly, that neck over the shoulder on the couch, if you kind of worm yourself down and start to feel your spine as you're going down, you feel it just like elongating and separating as you're stretching your head backwards until you hit the floor. Do you know that position you'd know like Jackie Chan would end up in if somebody uppercutted him and he did a kick flip back up? You know, when he falls on his back and two of his feet touch behind? That's a natural position for us to be in. And as men, it opens up some muscles in our it's inside our glutes, but it's that hamstring. And we should be able to stretch that. And even if your foot can't touch the floor, if you try to get into that position, you're going to see a world of difference when it comes to back pain. And this is the issue, like when you're talking about sports. Sports makes your body hyper specialize into a particular thing, and it throws the body off. In functional movement, kind of goes out the window for sports. You specialize in kicking a ball around the field. The practicality of that is enclosed within that. It's not for your health, it's not for benefits. And quite like the Chinese idea of kung fu, even though it's kung fu is basically labeled as different things for our different culture, but we all know kung fu. And the way we move and use our body, this most important instrument, it affects the way how we think. I think in the last live we were talking about epigenetics and how you can change that by using your willpower to physically change your body to manifest what you want in your environment. And that is power. Power is physically manifesting your will. And the way how we've been brainwashed now into thinking that we would have power in something like soccer, we'd have power in something like basketball, it leads to the mental confusion that's going on right now and not knowing our place, when place is literally all the things that we keep hearing about. Your body is a temple. And that's where you start. And the food and having the right nutrients in there, like a machine, to put gas in your car and you don't put in oil, what's going to happen? And it's the same with the body. But yeah, when it comes to pro-blackness, if you are not taking care of your black body, I don't know how you are pro-black. That's like my side of things.
That's a fact. And I think I seen a video of you do a backflip over a car or something. So definitely gonna take Kuma's advice. I said
And
Kuma's
plot twist, I was one of the skinniest, nerdiest. I've got so many injuries. I'm crippled in so many areas. But by following these things, and it keeps going back to me thinking the Olympics started in Africa and what they were doing there to actually be fit and how they did it. I'm coping with so many injuries. You wouldn't believe I'm doing the things that I'm doing if I start crying about all the boo-boos I've had.
wow.
So, in other words, Kuma, you're Bruce Lee.
Yeah, he a Bruce Lee type. I ain't going front. I seen him flip over that car. It was a video. He was calm, like he didn't even really run up to it. He was just like, I was like,
Okay,
how
okay,
old is
okay.
this brother? Yeah, but
I feel right now I feel kind of bad because we just like spare off the conversation, but it's very interesting though.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
Yeah,
wow.
I wouldn't be surprised if Kuma all of a sudden one day was just to reveal that he was Batman. But you know, hey, it's fine. It's
Yeah,
you know.
or Spider Man.
Nah,
One of them.
From now, I'm not Batman, but my dad might have been.
Oh,
nah, Kuma. No,
Oh man.
Kuma is Rock Lee from Naruto. I can feel it.
Yeah.
oh
So
yeah,
or
facts, facts.
or or Toji from Jujutsu Kaisen. How about
If
okay?
you
Maybe how
understand,
about
no, I'd go more with Rock Lee. That's kind of I've been the guy with no powers training, chasing behind everyone, and then I realized it's not that I don't have chi. Chi is white privilege, and I don't have chi.
Mm.
So I've just been Rock Lee in it, and come to find out when I took off those leg weights, I'm actually running a lot faster than I thought.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
ooh? So how you feel about weights, like just lifting weights in general?
Me or Kuma?
No, I'm saying that
Well,
there's so much baggage that we carry around, this cognitive dissonance that we live with being black, the things that we keep denying. I kept blaming myself because I didn't see color. I didn't care. I just wanted to find somebody who would love me. And apparently, if I'm not getting love, there's something wrong with me. So I kept looking at me, and not thinking, oh, it's because I'm black. Because why would you play the race card? But at the end of it, when I realized I'd been trying so hard and I stopped trying because I stopped caring what people think, I was doing one-handed push-ups, and it's like, wait, I'm not being accepted, and I'm the human that can do. No, something's wrong with this equation.
Mm-hmm.
no, yeah, but what about like lifting weights, like actual weights? Like how you feel about that?
It needs to be functional. Everything needs to be in a functional pattern. If you look at what nature, and not concrete jungle, what nature actually requires of us, the walking, the lifting, like if you're going to do particular movements and you need to increase the muscle that is involved in that movement, you can isolate it and build that muscle to be more productive. If you have an injury and you need to compensate, you can use the muscle, you can build that particular muscle that loses mass and size for isolation. But you have to be very careful. One of the most important thing in life is balance, and that's finding symmetry within your body. Being right-handed and left-handed, I chose to be ambidextrous because it was cool. It's just something I thought I could do. And I realized that being ambidextrous gave my left side of my body more precision in doing things. And I pick up injuries when I start to predominantly use another side as my body tries to balance out. And that's why you hear all the time, no pain, no gain. You're literally grinding your cartilage into a center position where it's more useful. Might not feel comfortable to you, but when weight and stress hits your body, it's going to be more prepared to deal with it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, this might help a little, Gene. Think about balance, like you said. Like the goal is to train your body. You don't want to be a quote unquote bodybuilder or a power lifter, or you just don't want to be an MMA fighter or a basketball player. You have to cross train. The best results I've ever gotten was taking multiple movements from different types of avenues of exercise, whether that be sports, because I'm a soccer coach, or whether that be fitness. You have to take it all in. If you just want to be a weightlifter, you can do that. But I've gotten the best results by, what I'm saying, mixing up my training, taking different techniques. Maybe I'm on a cardio stint this week, or maybe I'm more weightlifting the next week, right? So finding that balance, and that's a personal journey, right? You can go on YouTube and you can go to Google and you can look stuff up and you can copy and emulate all these influencers, but it's really you that's fine tuning your methods, man. Like we got so much media and so much material to consume, it can kind of get kind of overwhelming. But you got to take this personal journey where it's, hey, this is the stuff I like, and I see the best results with it, man. Um, don't underrate cardio because you need cardio, but you know what I'm saying. Just mix it up, man. I think cross training is the way to go.
Just really quickly, so you can bring it back around. My this idea of training to do with pro blackness, it has to do with a thing called proprioceptive memory, and that's that memory that snakes have, why it can still strike after it's been decapitated. That proprioceptive memory develops after, I think it's like 10,000 times of repetitive movement. And it's where your neurology starts to take hold. That's why I can do a backflip and breathe fire at the same time. I breathe fire enough times. I've done backflips enough times that I can forget one and let my body do that one thing. And then my brain can engage in another physical activity. And that's the part of our brain I think has been hijacked with that proprioceptive memory. That if you notice, some people tend to dip their heads in between their chests and duck down. That's in their memory to be down, to keep your the bad posture. It's in the proprioceptive memory, and that's what I want to see if it's being passed down generationally and racially now because of past events. And I'm thinking it to be a bit true. That posture, like when I went to Romania, I did not see a single Romanian with bad posture. Those guys are built square.
Yeah, because I did wrestling for like 1 year, and throughout that 1 year of wrestling, I don't know why, but I remember like simple movements from wrestling, like 'cause every time I think of like sprawling, I know what to do. Like it, I don't know, it's just like it's a memory, and like my body knows what to do. I don't know, just like one of those things. And it was like a combat sport. Like it's something like it will never like go away from me. And every time like I look at my shoulders, it's like, dang, why my shoulders are well defined. And then thinking back to it, it's like, oh yeah, I did wrestling over that. So it's one of those things like my body remembers. And Rashid, you say you were a soccer coach?
Yeah, rookie, but yeah, soccer coach. What's up?
Mm.
Oh, I just misheard what you said.
All right, y'all. So I'm trying to find a different topic, but how do y'all feel about Palestine? Do you think, as a community, brothers and sisters should should take up space in when we talk about our oppression here in America or anywhere in the globe? Do you think we should make room for Palestine, Gaza? How do y'all feel about that?
That is a big hell to the no. Uh, I mean, like we we prioritize every other community except our own way too much, and I think that what happens is that a lot of us fall victim to the media that we're seeing rather than paying attention to the deeper underlying messages, the stuff that they're not showing us. Because everybody's seeing the stuff being posted on Instagram. Everybody's seeing the stuff that Sean King is posting. Everybody's seeing, well, previously posted before his Instagram account was taken down. Everybody's like seeing all that stuff, but the problem is that we have to remember that Palestinians are still Arab people. They still very much so benefit from the enslavement of African people. And although we, again, there is links and there is intertwining between the same oppression that they are facing, that our African ancestor or our African family is facing, we still need to remember that if you liberate Africa, you cut off the ability to have these other oppressors commit these atrocities. So it's like, if you legit gave a damn about that, then your priority would be to liberate Africa first, because that would eliminate global oppression, period. So I mean, you can't make big ass kabooms from African resources if you cut off their ability to be able to gain access to African resources. So
Hmm.
yeah, but nobody ever wants to talk about that part. They're just like, well, let's talk about the legs of the situation rather than the body of the thing that is actually really the problem. Like that's okay. And,
I
yeah,
agree because I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
I
family.
agree because it's like when people, it's like white people try to do the whole Black Lives Matter or All Lives Matter thing. It's like every time I see someone have like, oh yeah, free Palestine, yeah, like yeah, free Palestine, but it's that, do you really care about Palestine? You know, it's like one of those things like they're doing it for clicks and views. That's why I hardly
Mm.
make any lives about Palestine, because I feel like if I'm gonna do it, it's gonna be all the way, or no. And besides, like we need to prioritize our own people and stuff of that as well. Like free Congo, Haiti, and Sudan. That's the things that we need to focus on. Now that's a fight that we can't like focus on right now. It's like
Facts.
it's like people saying like, oh yeah, all lives matter, stuff of that. No, no, it's you get what I'm saying, right? It's like white people
Hmm.
saying like Black Lives Matter, but they're doing it with sheeps and with clothing. It's like that one white lady that just take a picture during the protesting just for clicks and views and don't do anything with it.
Yeah, man, it's like you can see and we catch performative actions better than anybody. It's the same when they was posting that black post, that all black screen they was posting. Everybody was doing that. Now they're posting AI pictures of Gaza. AI pictures of Gaza. That's how you can tell how performative it is. And like y'all already said, man, our focus needs to be on Africa. The Arab community is selling Palestine. That, to me, if the Arab community was turned like how we was for our people, then they would not be in that situation. In my opinion, that's where the uh the slack needs to be picked up. But I mean, we can't force those people to do stuff for people that they consider their brothers and sisters. That's not us saying that. They say that, but where is your I don't see the European Arab support. I don't see the American Arab support for them. So, you know what I'm saying? It's an unfortunate situation, yes, and I think black people should stay informed. I think it's imperative that a black person is informed on what's happening in the world because of how the structure views us. But as far as, you know what I'm saying, our eggs in their basket can't do that.
Hmm. I absolutely agree. I think it is something we need to keep up with, to a degree. Don't be obsessed now. Like some of y'all know exactly the body count and what's going on and who's sneezing, who coughing in Palestine, but don't know what's going on in your own
I ask you
community.
how many people, you know what I'm saying, unalived in the Congo or Sudan.
Hmm.
Now it's crickets. It's
Yeah.
crazy. From
Right.
black people.
Right.
Just really quickly, Dan Geltzer or something like that. It was the first time I actually heard his name, and when I listened a bit back, I meant to talk about it, but never did. That person and how that person came to exist and what they have done and how he's being treated, and it has to do with the Congo. Now, for me, because Palestine is all I can see and I understand it tactically, it's how has this person been able to navigate this market so well that Dan is it Gelt? I don't like to remember I don't like to remember names, period, but not especially not somebody with his track record. And it becomes this thing where human lives just become numbers and statistics. Like especially with the Palestine stuff, I find it hard enough on this app to ask people to send me gifts when I know the economy of TikTok and what's actually happening. So if I magically get rich on this app, great. But to have a grift and a grind, it's like Palestine is not a problem and oppression. It's a brand name now. Have you heard of Palestine? Yes, I've got my brand new. Oh, have you heard the updates of my Palestine? It turns into that type of thing. Whereas what's it been like for 4 years I've been on this app, and these guys have always been on here asking for help, but it was Syria at first, now it's Palestine, and the way that they've done it and they've figured out this type of methodology of doing it and how it can now also still be abused, but still it's monetization. Once it's capitalism, you're feeding into the system and you lose.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's well said. The thing about Palestine is, like Timothy said, they did participate in African slavery even after the Europeans stopped. They continued, and even Egypt, I believe,
Wow.
continued to the 1900s. Their next door neighbor. But
And you know what's so crazy? Oh,
go ahead,
sorry.
go
And
ahead,
you know
D.
what's so crazy about it is like, I didn't know about the whole situation of Congo and Sudan and Haiti until like my mutuals brought it out to me. I only heard like what's going on in Palestine, and it's just like why we're not pushing for Congo and Haiti and Sudan, but we have so much on Palestine. Not saying like Palestine doesn't deserve the attention, but at the same time, I feel like all of these situations are equal, you know,
Yeah.
and should be like in the forefront of like in our communities. That's because
Mhm.
after like looking at this whole Palestine situation, yeah, I feel them, but we need to prioritize our own community as well because I know America just likes to be in other people's business.
Black people who take up arms in the name of another flag need to understand that if capitalism and white supremacy cannot profit off your body specifically, they will use you to enact that profiteering. You will be the grift for the capitalistic people. They want black people to, you know what I'm saying, ignore Congo, ignore Sudan, ignore Africa. I mean, they got black people saying they're not even from Africa, but
Mm-hmm.
you can't
Uh,
you gotta not want to be. Why do you want to be used by them? Like they've used us physically, personally for so many years, and now you are even virtually now being used by the system.
See, that's the thing. They don't think that it's usage. They think that they're actually engaging in something that is to the benefit of everybody. They literally have been fully indoctrinated into the mindset
Yeah,
of
man.
thinking that when they, yeah, like when they're approaching this, they're like, yeah, you know, because America, we as Americans and we as people in America, we need to do this, that, and third. And they're thinking like that in terms of America first, Americans first. And I'm a citizen of America. I'm American. I'm just here to keep on doing. So they're thinking about it from that type of psychological manipulation and brainwashing. And then all of a sudden, like for example, like, you know, when there was an African American general that got he was like the first ever African American general or something like that, like a high ranking like military official. And I saw all these posts talking about like, yeah, you know, hey, the first ever, like this is fantastic, this is great. And I'm thinking like, all right, dope, okay, cool, cool. But then I had my hesitations, and I'm like, why are they doing this now? And then I heard about what was happening in Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, and then I heard about a interview where this general came out and was like talking about how we need to protect United States interests. I'm like, that's why they did it. They're trying to maintain their hold over Africa, but they want black people being the ones that are on the big
The
screen.
figurehead, yes, sir.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. So like it's that divide and conquer thing. It's that, oh, if they show up on the big screen, then we can just go ahead and pretend as if they're the ones rather than it actually being majority YT people that are making all these decisions in with a YT supremacist agenda. So it's just it's all performative. That's the same thing they did during colonization. That's the same thing that they did during the European transatlantic slave trade. They've been doing this for a minute. They always put black faces in front of their uh, I'm trying to think of a TikTok friendly word for okay their genocidal agendas. Like they always put black faces in front of that, especially when they're going to other black places. Like Kenya potentially sending troops over to Haiti. That is not a Kenya decision. Them troops are very much so being funded by outside powers. They want African troops to land in Haiti to impose this sense of force onto Haitians, our African family in Haiti, but it's all being funded not by them. Like it's you know that divide and conquer.
Is it just me? I'm sorry because this might be an FBA trigger word, but I feel like Palestinians are gonna start getting reparations like before America.
Of course they are.
That's a
Yep.
Yeah,
fact.
they are. Yeah, they are. I mean, their their numbers as far as body count, right, is I think at 35K almost. Um, and we're on the other half of the year, so I think it's been longer than 6 months already. Um, when you look at Sudan, which is funny that oh, that was Brian Donalds. You're right. I forgot who it was. I just knew he was one of them uh milkmen. You know what I'm saying? But nah, what Rashad was saying about Sudan is interesting because the word Sudan even means desert in Arabic. So that right there shows you, that their people are not allies. This one nation of their people, might be going through something similar to what we go through here in America because Western imperialism that uh, uh, has oppressed us here in the United States is oppressing them there in Palestine. However, their people as a whole have acted similar to the United States in Africa. But the body count they're saying is going to happen in Sudan, and it's predictable because people are starving in Sudan because of a war instigated by the West and Russia. But long story short, they're saying that 2.5 million Africans in Sudan will unalive from hunger in by the end of the year this year. 2.5 million versus 35K. You see what I'm saying? Like when we talk about the Congo, we talk about 9 million since 1996, I think it was. 9 million. We're talking about the most dangerous environment for a black woman, where a black woman is R-worded every, two black women are R-worded every hour in the Congo. There are children as young as 3 years old digging up uh, coltan to make lithium batteries with no gear, no gloves, no hazmat suit. They're handling and breathing in dangerous chemicals. If you ever look up a video of the mines in the Congo, it's outrageous. Like think of the biggest. Think of like a concert. It looks like a concert, honestly. It looks like a sea of people lined up to see Beyonce shake her ass on stage in front of her own children. And um, you know, instead of cheering and you just hear people talking and they're all digging in the ground. Like that's how many people they got outside digging up resources.
So, bro, legend, I'm gonna speak weird like I normally speak, and I think this kind of it comes with the branding where Palestine is more brandable. I went down a rabbit hole looking into Congo because I'm like, this can't be real. Like this is Congo clickbait stuff, and I haven't debunked it yet. And the age was 4 years old, and it was tactics of war, and there's certain essay tactics in war, and then there's certain there's certain indoctrinations about diseases that can be rid of through SA, but of young children, and that's what's being used over there predominantly. Now, how do we get anywhere and on any of these platforms and try to say that this is happening? You can't say those words. You can't show the horrors or even explain the horrors that's actually happening and be able to have the conversation to debunk it, to even get to the bottom of it. So I think like with a lot of these conflicts, they get to a point where it's brandable. And when you were saying that just now, I was thinking that conflict in Ukraine is up to about 500,000 right now. And the thing is, that's kind of just churning out numbers. And if that goes on long enough, all of a sudden you'll hear reparation for Ukrainians. You'll hear
Oh yeah, they
reparation for
already got it.
Russians.
They already got reparations. They're welcome to come to the country. They Americans give them food, a place to stay, some money for their pockets. They already got a fund for that.
It's so, and that's why narcissism rules in like the business realm of things. It's just you. I can't articulate the stuff. Like I've been on TikTok long enough, my mouth just shuts up. It's like, do you like your account? Like you just can't really describe how for these people lives becomes just numbers on a piece of paper. It's not that they're actively looking at a black person and going, oh, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. They just look at the paper and their profit margin. there was this thing, I think it's Sweden or something, where they all have to kind of like vote as a village for investments that they've got. And they voted against something that would have dropped their profit by 3%, I think it was. And what was the request? And I'm pretty sure it was one of their mines in Africa. They were asking for drinking water for the kids who were working in the mines. And the group of them just voted no because it was a monetary loss to them. They're not going to do that. But they never saw the children that were, having to work without water. Let me show up now.
Hey man, that's a shame. Children shouldn't be working anywhere, man. Let black children be children. Let black children be children again. They've never been treated as children because none of us. That's the thing about intersectionality that a lot of people don't understand. It's the thing a lot of people don't understand. A lot of people look at intersectionality as some sort of pyramid where the black woman is at the bottom, the black man is right above her, and then you got the white T woman and the white T man at the very top, and that's not intersectionality. That's not how it works. In the context of racism, white supremacy, I'm not a man. In the context of racism, white supremacy, there are no such thing as black women. There's only black people, black prisoners of war. Now, I'm about to misspeak and say people. We're not considered people in the context of racism, white supremacy. Cows is the abbreviation for that. Context of white supremacy, cows. But yeah, so in that context, our children are also not children. You could be a male or female prisoner of war, but at the end of the day, you're not treated as a citizen. And so, it's a shame. You're not treated as a human as well. And it's a shame, even in the United States, a lot of the teenagers we see out on the street corner, have had their childhood robbed from them. And that's why they become grown ass children when they're older. And then the sisters try to date these people. And that's another thing about the dating game. It's like a lot of the good brothers, the good men that they looking for, don't make it past age 18. You know what I'm saying? The ones that do make it are the ones that did what they had to do to survive. You know what I'm saying? So that's just that just leads to a much larger conversation where black boys are the direct target of racism, white supremacy, especially when we talk about education and literacy rates, when we talk about institutionalization, mass incarceration, and even basically diagnosis for psychological and mental disorders. The black boy is the direct target, not black men. Black men are target number two, but black boys are the direct target racism, white supremacy seeks to destroy.
That's one thing that I noticed growing up. Like, oh man, they very much so were a lot more harsher to my more melanated brothers in the class. Like, I noticed that and I peeped that from the early age. And actually, what was even crazier is that like, because I would get sent to detention from time to time, just for being so-called class clown or whatever. But you would always see the brothers in there, always. And then even as we started to grow up more and more, um, there was some brothers that I grew up with that didn't make it to this age at all. Like, just didn't even, and all they were doing was they literally just went to a house party, and then somebody came in trying to get somebody else, ended up pew-pewing them.
Yeah.
Like, there was just one brother that I knew, and he was in the life, and he was he was banging it one time, but he was really legit the only dude that actually like took time to like I just remember him being very kind. I remember him. There was one time I think we went out to go to like a party or something like that, and so we're on our way back, and I'm like dropping him off at in his neighborhood, and so the first thing he did, like, I was dropping off maybe two other people, and nobody else even offered to cover gas, at all. So I'm thinking like, oh damn, okay, they just wanted to ride. Um, and he comes out and he's like, hey bro, can we pull over at this spot real quick? I'm like, yeah, sure. And he goes to the ATM, comes back out, and he's like, here you go, bro. I'm like, no, 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 it's all good. He's like, no, 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 you need to take this 20 from me. I want to put this in a gas tank. And I remember bumping into him several other times, and there was always just this sense of like when you were around him, there was a positive like energy, like things were just all right. And then somebody took him out, like somewhere out in Jersey, and
Yeah.
like that shit messed with me for a minute. I'm not gonna lie, but
The good ones are gone quick. That's the thing I learned about our living in our community, the good ones, the ones even if they're too honest. The honest ones, the real honest ones that tell the truth, yeah, they get taken out of here. And that's another thing. I explained this to my wife, and a lot of sisters do not realize this because they don't live as black men, right? So they don't there's no oppression there's no hierarchy of oppression. That's a quote from Audre Lorde. There's no hierarchy of oppression, but black men live in a state of like war constantly, and even the ones that are not conscious of this war are around you, black women, and black women can't tell the difference between sometimes, especially if they didn't have a father, a man that's in survival mode and a man that's not. And sometimes I've seen sisters actually date men that are in survival mode and not know. Like, think about if World War II or Civil War was going on right now, soldiers need a place to sleep for the night. They'll just bust into somebody's house, set up camp. They're not really caring about the decor of the house, making sure things are clean, making sure they all take showers, making sure everything is habitable, making sure it's a habitable environment. They're just there to use this spot for the night. They're in survival mode. They don't really care. They just care that the walls are good in here and they can peek out the window and pop somebody if they got to. That is why you will go to brothers' houses and they don't got no pictures on the walls. They don't got any healthy food that's nurturing. Like a lot of brothers and people, and I know this because I've been around brothers in survival mode so much, and I'm like, you know, I'm thankful to the ancestors that I was able to avert some of the things I've seen other brothers go through, but I've been around them long enough, and I'm like, damn, because sometimes when sisters complain about the quality of men dating out there, I'm like, y'all are not wrong because I've seen it. It's just I think the situation, the context of white supremacy is more dire in the minds of a lot of black men, and sisters don't all the way realize that sometimes. Let's go to Dr. Steele. She was bringing up an interesting study, I think. Go ahead, Dr. Steele. What's going on?
Yeah, for sure. And hold on. Hold on, let me put my ear things on. It's easier for you to hear me. Yeah, so to your point from before about the targeting of black boys, so there's a doctor by the name of Dr. Andrew Wakefield. Now he's out of the UK and he is a YT doctor, but
Mm.
he did a study looking at the impact of the inoculations on various races, right? And so what he discovered was that after the MMR inoculation, it was actually black boys that had the greatest propensity towards neurodevelopment issues after that particular injection. So that one is at 2 years old, just so you know. So there's a whole series of them. Anyway, so he revealed that information in that study, and then the government turned around, right? Check this, look it up. They pulled his medical license, publicly shamed him, discredited him, trashed the study. And then when you go back, so the study's rock solid. It's really good. But when you go back and you look at what their rebuttals are for the study, it's total conjecture. And then, so before I was an international psych PhD, I was in.
She got a call.
Oh, sorry. Hold on, my thing. What was the last thing you heard?
What was the last thing we heard?
Yeah, the psych.
Oh yeah, so applied psychophysiology. So I was in their PhD department, which heavily racist, by the way. But anyway, so you do a lot of like research work and stuff with NIH and that kind of thing. So we got to learn about like the peer reviewed process. So the peer review people, number one, old white males, they are dying off, so they don't have enough peer reviewers too. And number three, the peer reviewers actually, because they don't have enough and they can't possibly have deep understanding on all of these different things. So then it's kind of the good old boy system, right? So then you look at the studies from NIH and CDC who are getting all this funding, right, for pretty much trash, right? They're all skewed studies because they're all financed and corrupted, right? So when you start to peel back the layers of all of this stuff, it's like, holy cow, like there's no way. And anything that is against the system, let me tell you, like I had to be very careful because I was on television, I look the way that I do, that was, but you have to be incredibly strategic when you are navigating in these things. If you bump up against them, say the wrong thing, step out of line, they will make you know, and they will make you pay, and they will trash your entire career and your entire life. So there's a huge cost for a lot of people.
Yeah, we've seen it done. What scholar was that they discredited? I forgot who that was. John Henry Clark talks about him. I forgot. It wasn't Shake Hand to Jug, but yeah, we've seen that. We've seen that with our scholars, man. You speak the truth, and they will silence you. That is interesting, though. What you say about the inoculation. So, do you think it would be advisable to say, black boys or black? Was it only black boys or black children in general?
So what they found is that black boys had the most propensity towards developing a neurodevelopment issue afterwards, and it's because of the instabilities around the nervous system, which is a direct impact from trauma. So that's also why people in the black community, we suffer more from mental health issues, and naturally addiction issues as well, because it's a mechanism for the mind to process trauma that is unprocessed in the body, if that makes sense. So yeah, so anyway, there have been other things too, but this one specifically was not centered around, but the data, what happened is this conclusion rose out of the data, and it was irrefutable. And so, there was other studies about like the immune system and things like that by other doctors. They were a little more palatable to the system, I must say. But Wakefield was very clear, and the data was very clear and very definitive. And he stood on it, and he lost a lot in the process. But I have a lot of respect for him because, when the medical community, damages and injures, and again, when I was in practice, I was the doctor that people would go to when they were injured, or I was the doctor that people they would literally have their babies out in the woods, come into my office. They wouldn't want a social security card or birth certificate. I mean, I've seen the gamut, right? But it was sad because they would come in after these injections and they would tell me, my baby was fine. I had, full, all learning markers, all the development markers, and they went in for these injectables and they came out and they were a different human being. And sometimes it's a longer cycle. And of course, I try to be real mindful on this particular app, in terms of what I say, and then we saw it again with the whole, COVID debacle. And then I don't know if you know about this, but they paid the churches to run those vaccine drives. And so they corrupted all the churches. So that's why all the churches were having all those vaccine drives, because they were getting paid each shot. So just FYI.
Man, we gotta be careful, y'all. Y'all hear this? We gotta be careful. We gotta be careful, and we gotta be careful with our children, and understand that until we're able to create our own medical institutions centered around us and healing us, we're going to continue to have these issues. I hope I hope the next generation picks up the baton, and I hope to see black hospitals. The lack of representation for black people in medical and uh, um, psychology
Oh,
is
can I tell you about that too? Okay,
yeah.
so when Rockefeller knocked out like all, he did the whole thing with the Flexner report. The other thing he did, it knocked out most of the black colleges because there was a lot of black medical schools at that time.
Right.
It knocked out most of them. I think Howard and Morehouse were the only ones left standing afterwards, right? Because they were the only ones that were willing to be co-opted and were willing to do, whatever that they wanted them to do, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, none of the you can't trust any of them. It's all the whole thing. I've been inside and out, left and right, up and down, all layers of it, looking for some semblance of hope. And trust me, there is none.
And that's what's so annoying is that if you want to liberate your mind, your body, if you want to, black consciousness is a retention of your African identity, but also a rejection of white supremacy. So if you want to reject white supremacy at your core, you're going to look like a radical, crazy left wing leftist, tree hugger. And it's a shame because, like
That's
it's just
that's that is all by design though. So I did this webinar. Totally check it out. It's free. It's like 45 minutes. I go over the whole thing, how in healthcare specifically, because that's my jam. And I go over how they create it's co-opted because remember, it was designed, everything's about separation, separating us from ourselves, right? And so they separated us from our indigenous practices. They separated us from our cultural practices. They separated us from our food. They separated us from everything, our connection, right? And so that's how they control us, is that access to the information, access to healing, access to each other, access to communication. That's really, at the end of the day, what it boils down to. It's all access. So if we provide access to each other, right, that's, then it makes for a different trajectory.
absolutely. Wow. Well, I'm going to check out that webinar. I don't know about y'all. Y'all check out Dr. Steele's page. I'm going to check that out, sister. I appreciate you bringing that up and just all your contributions to the conversation tonight. Yeah, we definitely, we on you now. You done told us something. We love learning around here. All the brothers and sisters that's been on my live. I got to start going live at a consistent time like Kron does again. Because I've been kind of just, honestly, y'all, can I be real with y'all? Appreciate you, sister. Thank you. But I'm going to be real with y'all. Ever since we started really building and B1 Initiative and we, got the 501c3 status and incorporated, lives have not been my jam. I wanted to come up here because I wanted to build something for us. I didn't come up here to start content creation. Like I wanted to get us together in one spot. And I feel like I've achieved that. I feel like there's always more to achieve, but that's the reason it's been hard for me to even make videos. If you check it out, like I made like 4 or 5 videos all month, where before I was making a video a day. Like I'm busy building with the people I intended to build with. So content creation is now turned into this like side mission. But I'm going to get back to it. We're almost done. We're building Sankofapedia. If y'all want to check that out, the link is in my bio, and I also have a video pinned on my profile. It's an Afrocentric encyclopedia All the things that we talk about, even what Sister Steele is talking about, we want to include in Sankofapedia. We want it to be a one-stop shop for an unapologetic, Afrocentric knowledge base, just where you want to learn about Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, you want to learn about Rita Walker, you want to learn about Ivan Van Sertima, John Henrik Clark, John G. Jackson, any of the scholars. You have one place that you can do this. You don't have to look for different books, get recommendations, and go on lives and try to sound ignorant, and then someone throw a book at you. Like we're making it so that there's one place the entire diaspora can go to, and it's very intentionally made. A lot of the work that's being done behind the scenes is by Black women. Shout out to the sisters, man. And then we've also got the brothers doing a lot of the heavy lifting with the technology. Shout out to the Garvey Gang Tech. That's their name. I think that name is so fly, bro. Garvey Gang Tech, man. That's a fly name for a tech team, for an IT department. But yeah, so Garvey Gang, man. Shout out to them. They're building the framework that we're going to need to run the website. I'm coding and designing Sankofapedia. So we're just all doing this. We just finished our branding kit this week. We're having our meeting on Sunday, 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern. We have our meetings. We give you guys updates. You can join our newsletter, b1initiative.org. There's a newsletter. We've got over 700 people subscribed there. We've got 800 people in 800. I think we're almost at 900 people in the Discord. All Pan Africans, all people from all over the globe, Black people, and yeah. So doing that work was the goal, not coming up here sounding cool and talking about Black people. I'm sorry, talking about interracial relationships all day. That, but I'm going to start coming back after some of this work is done. So I look forward to that. But I'm about to go. Shout out to Timothy, Gene, Kuma, brother Rashad, and Sister Steele for bringing the words and bringing us all that knowledge today, all those gems. Appreciate you, Kuma. But yeah, and shout out to my moderators, D. I'm not sure if she in here. But yeah, I'll be back. I'll see y'all tomorrow. One love.